I've been more patient than most with David Moyes. I think he gets a lot of leeway in. I was going to say in this household, in this shed. David Moyes he's got a lot of credit in the bank. Let's put it that way. A lot of credit in the shed. I think I like what he's doing with the club. I like his long-term plans. And David Moyes even recently has alluded to the fact that maybe he won't have the 10, 11 years that he's got at Everton. So he might want to hurry things along a bit. I was sort of pleased to hear him say that, and then a little bit annoyed as well. Because I was thinking, well, go on in, mate. Come on, let's sort of crack on. But the more I hear from him and the more I see of him, I get the impression that he's searching for perfection a little bit too much. And it's really his comments about him saying it's very, very hard to find players than we've already got at the club. And I just disagree with that, actually. I do think it's really hard to find a right winger that's better than Jared Bowen. I totally get it. But that doesn't mean don't bring a right winger in. I totally understand that it's not easy to bring in a central defender that's better than Kurt Zuma. But that doesn't mean you don't bring another one in. I understand that Aaron Cresswell was a really, really good left back. But he's not the best left back and the only left back there is. In fact, and I think this is my problem with David Moyes at the moment, is I think he's so focused on just trying to improve and better the people in the first team that actually he's forgetting to improve and better the people in the squad. And I know he can pick a good player. Souček's a great player. Zuma's a great player. Bowen's a great player. These are all great players. Yeah, I think he's focused on the wrong area. Sometimes when you look at it and you think, well, hold on, it's no good. Don't worry about being better than Jared Bowen. What about being better than Yarmolenko? What about being better than Arthur Masuaku? And this is where I think the problem is. Geo's here. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I agree with you. What I will say, I've always liked the policy of trying to upgrade the starting 11. So you're getting a player, let's use the striker analogy, you're getting a player that's better than Antonio. Antonio goes on the bench, and then you upgrade the bench as well, don't you? You upgrade the starting 11 and the bench by bringing in one player. I've always liked that policy. I've always felt that that should be the aim. But you can only really do that policy for so long, can't you? Because then eventually it becomes too expensive to simply keep doing that. And if you look at, say, Aaron Creswell's example, you're not necessarily buying a left back better than Creswell today. You're perhaps wanting to buy a left back that will be better than Aaron Creswell in a year's time and stuff, that he will provide cover for a year, then eventually overtake him. You're trying to buy somebody that's perhaps younger, because we can't afford, despite Kretinsky coming in and stuff, we don't have a big transfer war chest or anything. We can't afford always to buy the finished article. We just can't. They cost a lot of money. We've got Kurt Zuma in the finished article, 25 million, right? So we're in the market for another centre-back at the minute. Well, we ain't signing someone for 25 million, are we? We're not going to be buying Kurt Zuma So you've got to sort of come down a little bit. And you've almost got to make a sacrifice in that signing somewhere. So what's that sacrifice going to be? Is it going to be too young? Maybe he's a bit old, so this will be his last big move, like Craig Dawson, for example. Is it because he's a bit injury prone, a bit like Phil Jones or something? So what's the sacrifice out of that player? So Moyes keeps saying the right striker. He wants the right signing. I'm going to change his words. I'm going to choose to change his own phrase here. And I think he's looking for the perfect striker rather than the right one. Because I think many strikers are the right one, but there's probably only one or two that are perfect, that tick every single box. That is a 10 out of 10 signing for Moyes. And I think he's almost too stubborn and too reluctant to drop down to a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I get it. I do get it. But I think there's a time and a place to do it. And I think it changes between transfer and position and stuff like that as well. And I just think at the minute, I think he's a bit too hung up, if you like, on finding the perfect striker. And if you've spent 2 years looking for one, and you've not found one, I would argue there's something wrong with your search rather than the people you're looking at.
I think, yeah, look, I mean, the striker's a big one. I mean, the striker is a big one, particularly where he's tied himself in knots with. We look at Antonio going away with Jamaica. That's a massive thing here. That's massively impactful. But there's no surprise. This is the thing. None of this should be a surprise. I did a video on this very channel 2-3 months ago about this upcoming little winter break where he's going away and he's going to be playing. And I actually even said in the video 2 or 3 games with Jamaica. So there's no surprise here. It's going to be no surprise to anyone. And it's really how you don't have to be as good as Mikel Antonio. Maybe, as you say, just a little bit different. But that's not just it. I think he can buy players for the first team. That's it. It's the way he's recruiting for the bench, which is a load of players he doesn't even want to use. And Alex Crowell and Areola are two case in point, but it's not just them, Geo. It's the players he's going to spend the money on as well. And in particular, Nikola Vlasic. Now, before I go on and talk about Nikola Vlasic, this video is sponsored by... Who's it sponsored by, Gio?
It's the One Football app.
Now, the One Football app is downloadable by clicking the link below. It's not just underneath me. It's underneath Gio. You do the fingers as well, please. It's underneath there. Click on it, download it to your phone, download it to your mobile device. What it will do, it will put all the West Ham news into one place for you. When you download it, you click, I support West Ham and England. Gio would probably put something different, and it aggregates and puts all the news into one place, sends it as a notification to your phone so you don't have to go searching for it. The best thing of all is it's free. Now, a long time ago on that One Football app, it told us that we bought a player in Nikola Vlasic. And I think a lot of us thought this was going to be Jesse Lingard's replacement. But there is just this reluctance to use these players. And when you are reluctant to use Vlasic, and I think it's fair to say he is, when you're reluctant to use Crowell, who you brought in, Areola, well, only when the other guys, basically, only when it's a game that's an inconvenient midweek game, or when the other bloke between the sticks has got COVID, okay, we'll use him then. It doesn't say an awful lot. And we all know that Yarmolenko has got no future at the club. And we all know that Masuaku's got no future at the club. And this is what I don't understand. And this is what I worry about, Gio. My worry is this search for perfection. Okay, so he can't go and get the striker that he deems to be, as you suggested, perfect, but he deems to be better than Mikel Antonio. He can't go and get that centre-back. So because he can't get players that are better than the players in the first 11, I understand, and what you say makes sense. You get it, and then it pushes them down to the bench. If he's not going to do that, then go out and buy the £10 million fullback. Go and buy whatever, the £15 million centre-half who's going to improve. Go and get that striker. He almost gets nobody. And what happens is, as a result, West Ham have to operate with one arm tied behind their back because, as we've just seen against Man U, he won't use the bench, mate.
Yeah, I think I'll defend the Areola one, actually. I think Fabianski's had a good season, I think, overall. I think he's had a good season. I think I would have liked Areola to have more chances, but I think the lack of chances is I think he's different to Vlasic, and especially Crowell. I think Crowell's a case on its own, but I think Areola... he'd have probably liked more minutes as well, but I sort of get why Moyes has used Areola as he has. I think the Vlasic one's slightly different, but then the Crowell one, it just makes no sense, actually. In fact, it causes doubt over who signed Alex Crowell, which is not really what we want to see, is it? We don't want to have doubts over who signed who. We want to be confident that the manager has rubber-stamped every single deal. And I think the Crowell thing is what I thought it was on transfer deadline day, which is just taking advantage of an availability of a player. If Alex Crowell cost money, I don't think we would have signed him. I think because he was available on loan, it's like, oh, we'll have him, we'll go get him, and that'll do, and we'll just keep him. And there has been times when we could have used him and we haven't. And there is a reluctance from Moyes to utilise the squad. And I think sometimes you need evidence to back up your claim. And I think Ben Johnson at the minute is providing that evidence. Well, why is he not getting a game the last couple of games? Creswell and Soufal have had 2 poor games. And on 3 occasions, the player finished that 90 minutes. Only against Man United was Soufal withdrawn and Fredericks put on. But Ben Johnson's done nothing wrong all season. He's not got on. But I agree with what you're saying. I think there is a reluctance to... I think it's probably because we just don't have a big transfer budget, Gonzo. I think he doesn't want to waste his money. And I guess my idea of wasting money to David Moyes is different, which is my idea of wasting money is you buy someone that doesn't work out, wasting money. I think Moyes' one is, if I've got 50 million, I spend 10 million on a striker, I've only got 40 left, and then I find the perfect striker who's 50 million, I can't afford him because I've just wasted 10 million. Now, that guy might actually come good, but he's just spent some of his limited budget. But I think what's important is the context as to where West Ham United are at present in regards to squad size and availability. And that is, you look at other compatible teams in the Premier League, you look at Wolves, they've got a similar squad size. We'll probably look at them. There's not much difference. But then you look at Leicester, I would say that they've got a stronger squad in depth. You look at Aston Villa, they're certainly getting a stronger squad in terms of squad depth. And that's where we fall down a little bit because we've got players on the bench who have no future at the club or are unwanted at the club. limited experience of the club so far, and it's good to see the youngsters on the bench. But again, it's almost a bit pointless to some extent because they're not going to get on the pitch. So it's a bit like, well, they're on the bench just for the sake of making up numbers, really, rather than because the manager has confidence of them playing in the first team and making a difference. So I do think there is an argument there that actually we probably do need 2 or 3 bodies that are squad fillers, if you like. Not always a bad thing. There is examples. You look at Everton, I guess, in the summer when they signed Andros Townsend. They really have faith Andros Townsend was going to become an important player for them playing week. Probably not. They probably thought he'll play 10 games this season, but that's fine. We need players like that.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably in that point where actually we just need players that can contribute when called upon. And that's it. But like Ryan Fredericks, we just need a Ryan Fredericks for a couple of positions that does a job when called upon, but probably not our first choice.
Do you think Andros Townsend will get a game at West Ham at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I actually. This is the thing.
I genuinely do. I genuinely think if we had him available, he'd play. I think on Saturday Old Trafford, I think Moyes might have put him on for Pamper finals. For whatever reason, he didn't put Vlasic on. But I think he'd have had some game time. Do I want Andros Townsend at West Ham? Probably not. But players
But neither does
ilk.
David Moyes, and this is my point. It's not about Andros Townsend. It's about that 32-year-old player on a free for a season. You just don't get the. Actually, did Moyes bring in Evra? Was it Moyes that brought in Evra?
Yeah, it was. He brought in Evra and Hugo in the same window, didn't he? Yeah, it must have been because then he played 3 games and we conceded 4 goals in 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, but you still see from him a reluctance to do that, and actually stuff like that can make the difference. Not as a world beater, not because he's better than Jared Bowen or anything like that, but actually someone who might be there on the. I think Moyes might look at the bench. I don't know why we're only talking about Andros Townsend. As you brought him up, you could use any example. You could use Damari Gray, who's the other one there, or whatever. Use whatever example you want. Mark Albrighton, or just whatever. Your sort of journeyman old bloke, right? Who actually would be some use to West Ham, and that's what worries me because they've got to be any of these people got to be better than Yarmolenko and what's his name, Masuaku, whose name I almost forgot. 1 week to go, is it? Is that right? 1 week to go.
Yeah, a week today the window shuts.
We're doing a show, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll do our live show as always. Do a couple of hours long. I've got 1 or 2 guests that are quite good that said they'll come on. I'll have to chase them up closer to the time because I have busy schedules and they need a little reminder. But if all goes well, we should have a couple of special guests joining us. I've got a feeling we're going to be busy on transfer deadline day. I say busy, it might just be one signing, but I got a feeling that we will be active because we are leaving it late. And I know people say, well, we don't want journeymen, old people here. That's fine. Well, the loan market's a similar concept, isn't it? And you look at Crystal Palace yesterday, giving Liverpool a game, their striker Mateta, who played Edward on loan. You look at Roja of Southampton, on loan. Hwang at Wolves, on loan. There's plenty of loan signings out there that's very, very useful. Billy Gilmore went to Norwich. Would he have done a job here? Possibly. Conor Gallagher went to Crystal Palace on loan. There's loads and loads of examples of loan players available. We've got our own one in Alex Kral, but for whatever reason we haven't got him. And I don't think it's because of the loan thing, because we've seen with Souček and Lingard that actually Moyes will use them. If they're good enough, Moyes will play them. But the good thing is, at the minute, Gonzo, we've got both domestic spaces in our squad available for loans, so we can have 2 loan signings if we want from Premier League clubs. Moyes has confirmed the transfer kit is there. You can spend... He almost makes on he can spend whatever he wants, really. But the resources are there. It's just about, I don't know what it's about, really. Probably a change in personality to some extent.
Yeah, look, I think Moyes has got to decide whether he wants to muddle through, almost stumble on it. Does he want to stumble all the way to the finish line, or does he want to sort of, go finish the race sprinting? And he's only going to really be able to do that if he gets some reinforcements. We've got ourselves into a lovely position. I understand that the 6 points lost, they're lost now. But actually, in terms of still in the FA Cup, in the knockout rounds in Europe, this could still be an absolutely glorious season. But surely even Moyes himself knows that he needs reinforcements. And that's really was my point about this video. If he can't get those top guys, is he going to be brave enough to buy 2 or 3 players that can go on that bench and then actually make a real difference? Because the way this fixture scheduling is, the way we are with Mikel Antonio going off to Jamaica and the rest of it, we cannot keep playing these guys for 90 minutes. there you go. That's my my little rant with me my cohort today. Geo, say goodbye, my friend.
Goodbye, my friend.
Goodbye, my friend. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.